Hey, welcome everybody to the 7 Minutes to Better Selling podcast. I'm your host, Colin Lake. I'm coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee today. I'm staying at the Moxie Hotel, so you'll hear a little bit of noise in the background, and that's why my background's blurred out currently. So as many of you are familiar with this 7 Minutes to Better Selling podcast, we are an organization that is connected to Developing the Next Leaders, who jointly are on this mission of helping sales teams and sales organizations and sales executives truly love what they do in the selling world that they live in. We recognize it's really hard to love something when you're not doing it at your highest level or at your peak level. And so we work really hard to help the people that we work with do it at a higher level and do it at a higher level in a sustainable way. So from a logistics perspective, although our title says 7 Minutes to Better Selling, the live conversations typically last anywhere 7 to 12 minutes or so. This one might go a few minutes longer. We have a wonderful guest coming on in just a second here. And then we take the show to the editing floor. We distill the highlights, get the pearls of wisdom down to 7 minutes. And that our highlight show then gets pushed out to the world for everyone to view. So with all of that in mind, I welcome Tim Seifert, a longtime friend. He is also the head of the Retirement Solutions Division for a Fortune 500 company, and also heads their Center for Financial Planning Excellence. So Tim Seifert, we are so glad to have you join us, and it's been way too long for you not to be sitting on this show with me. So grateful for you being here.
My man, it's always great to be with you, Colin, and appreciate all the great work that you're doing, developing future leaders. And I just love the well-asked question. It's so good. So good. Your training. So keep up the good work, buddy. Noble purpose.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Tim. So you and I know each other for 25 years. And right prior to me knowing you, you were a field representative covering North and South Carolina. Do you have both North and South Carolina or just North?
North Carolina and Northern South, right.
Yeah, okay. So you have this small little region, and then you move to a leadership position, and then a bigger leadership position, a bigger leadership position still. And now now you have really put yourself in a place where you are leading a large organization doing tens of billions of dollars of sales. How do you go from there to where you are today?
Oh, wow. What a great question. Get right at it, buddy. Colin, you'll appreciate this. It's standing on the shoulders of giants. When I take a look back at my success and our success together, it is truly standing on the shoulders of giants. In other words, it's 1986, and you have a 22-year-old Tim Seifert sitting in his first national sales meeting. And we're all in the selling, love this industry. And I'm sitting there, and there was this multiple presenters coming up. It's at the Desmond Hotel in Paoli, Pennsylvania. And as I'm watching these presenters, there's always those few that just stand out. And you go, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that person. I want to be like that person. They happen to be all men. Today, I would certainly pay attention to everybody. But at that point, it was all men. And, on the stage that I saw. And there was 3 people, Colin, that stood out. And number one was, and you know all these folks, number one was Sean O'Hara. There was nobody that could sell like Sean O'Hara and present like Sean O'Hara. So what do you think I did, Colin? As soon as I got done seeing him, cocktail party, I asked if I could spend a phone call every other week with Sean to understand that skill set of great presentations. Number 2 was a gentleman named Tom Castaldi. And Tom Castaldi, nobody better than absolute dominating the centers of influence. Our center of influence strategy. What is it? And the relationship building. And he taught me very early on the FORC technique, FORC, which we can talk about later. And then number 3 was Kevin Connor. And he did a presentation, to this day I still remember, Think Inc. Think about yourself as a business owner. And he taught us, how do you run a better business? So when you say, how did you get from there, 22 years old, to here, is I always find out what is the most successful people in your circle. What are they doing so darn well? And just copy it and make it your own. And then you and I are both growth mindseted, just 1% better every day, just 1% better every day. But when I look at my career, it is 100% standing on the shoulders of those that came before me. And how can I have that growth mindset and make it just a little bit better? But those three people, those three gentlemen today, are exactly why I'm here where I am today. Is they taught me something really early in my career.
Boy, that is a great answer, Tim. I tell you, that is a really, I mean, I could ask you like 30 questions off it. We don't have time for all 30. However, yeah. I am going to ask you one. So you ask them to spend some time with you.
Yeah.
They say yes, right? So you hope that if it's in your circle, they say yes. How does the conversation go? Like, a lot of people like know how to say, "Can you help me?" But they don't know how to get like the right type of help. So like, how did you ask them for the help that you ultimately needed to allow you to become like the best presenter, the best at relationships, and the best at like Think Inc.?
Intentionality. You and I use this word. Can you be more specific? Double click. Can you be more specific? Tell me what was going through your mind when you said this. Why did you choose this word? So we with Sean, Kevin, and Tommy, those every other week, an hour conversation is they would take me through this path of learning, and it's more specific. Tell me why. Where did you articulate that? Tell me what you were making the comparison to. And I just kept asking more and more questions. It's the well-asked questions with be more specific. I got it. And then guess what we do with it? What do you do with it? You know, when you turn knowledge into wisdom, right? Knowledge is knowing. Wisdom is doing. Applied the knowledge. So what I would do is I would take it and I would practice it and practice it and practice it, right? And I was willing to do at 22, 23, and 24 years old, those things my friends just weren't willing to do. You know what it was, Colin? Practice over and over again until where you master it. It's the 10,000 hour rule, right? You ultimately master this presentation skill. You master asking great questions. You master listening skills. You master the idea of centers of influence. You master your office day, right? Kevin Connor taught me the process. This is my process. This is what I do. This is how I time block. This is when I do my expenses. This is how I do my receipts, right? Today would be mastering the virtual virtuoso. It's mastering anything you have to do with owning your calendar. It's all the stuff we teach, but it's discipline, right?
Tim, you know a good there's a million good takeaways from that thought, but your mastery, Tim Seifert's mastery of each one of those may be a little bit different than someone else's mastery, and someone else's mastery may be something different than yours, but that's okay. Like, we all have our own individual mastery of a particular topic. Our job is just to find out what that is for ourselves and then work toward that. And once we get there, continue to work to improve that. Yes, I mean, that's what I'm hearing from you.
It's ownership. It's extreme ownership. I own my process. Because you know this, Colin, we don't rise to the occasion. We'll still, you and I are big with military and, you know, thank them for all their service. I mean, each and every day, we know that. I mean, gosh almighty, the big country we're living in is because of them, right? You know, we may not know them all, but we certainly owe them all, right, Colin? And that's your great work, right? So here's a military, right? Kevin Connor told me this, right? Trust the process, right? Now the Sixers stole it many years later, but we don't listen. Opportunities have to. You don't rise. The true selling professional in mastery and thousands of hours. We don't rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our process. We fall to the level of our training. We fall to the level of our discipline. So what does it take? Hours and hours of hard work. Just like you and I talk about summiting a mountain. It takes hours and hours of training. No different in selling. If you want to master a skill set, master techniques, you got to put in the reps. You got to put in the hard work. That's what separates the top 1% from the rest. You want to get to the top 1%? You got to change your relationship with hard. Joe Thompson taught us this, Colin.
That's great, Tim.
Joe Thompson said, kid, right? He's calling me kid. Kid, 22-year-old kid, right? You want to change your world? Change your relationship with hard, and your world will change.
So good.
Right? When you change that, right? Change your relationship with fear, your world will change. Change your relationship with hard, your world will change. Embrace the hard. Search for the hard, and you'll be there. So it's that's just great stuff.
Yeah, I just love it, Tim. Tim, I'm going to shorten you just a little bit here so we don't go too long. But I really want to ask you this question. Yeah. You're the master of selling in so many ways, and so many ways of thinking about it, and working towards mastery and not perfecting, but improving yourself. And so there is a world that is changing from a sales perspective. Like, once upon a time, salespeople would say, here's the information, here's our product. But that is not enough anymore. We need to teach people how to use the product. And we need to teach people how to use the product to better their business and better their clients' lives. So my question to you is, from an opportunity perspective, what are like a couple of things that you would point to that would help salespeople sell more effectively today, like September 29th today?
All right, so let Colin. So we study this through our Center of Sales Excellence, our Center of Financial Planning Excellence. We study greatness. So what makes great salespeople great? And let me give them to you just quickly, Colin. You ready? Number one is the way they think, right? So they think abundantly and they think win-win. The law of reciprocity. The only way I can get what I want in life is help others get what they want in life. So it's the way they think. And these are in order of priority. Number one is the way they think. Number two is the way they prepare, right? So we just talked about that. They prepare continuously. The use of agenda in every meeting. They practice presentations, preparation, process, the way they prepare. Number three is the way they show up. They actually work. They work with passion and they work beyond expectations. And we can talk about the 3 dimensions of setting proper expectations. Number 4 is the way they follow through, right? It's the W's. At the end of every meeting, interaction, whatever, it's a W's. Who does what, by when? You got to get the date, the time, with the help of whom. And then lastly, Colin, is the way they live. We talk about the attitude of gratitude, right? They live with humility and kindness. Now, when I say kindness, I'm talking about empathy. When I say kindness, is don't mistake my kindness as weakness, right? Big difference. But when we study the great salespeople, and Colin, under each one of these, we could go for an hour. But it's those 5 factors that rise above everything. And they do it consistently with discipline over time. And remember, it's in order of priority. And the first one is the way you think. The way you think. And you and I know this, the brain, the importance of it. And that self-talk, believing in yourself, right, is so, so important to wake up every day with that right attitude, that right thinking, that right discipline, own your morning. It's all that great stuff.
Tim, so if I just sat up and I took a few notes. I very rarely, if ever, have done that. So I hope the entire listening audience did that same thing. Right? Those are really important things to hang on to for the rest of your life, and think about how they impact you as a salesperson. I hope everyone listening to this says, okay, that's what Tim's saying. How does that reflect, or how do I reflect that in my life? How do I take that to my business? So I think that's great. I'm going to ask you this one. You did them in order of importance. The think win-win. I love it. Totally love it. I have lots of stories of salespeople who've succeeded like way beyond their imagination because they thought that way, and I've many people who fell way short of their expectation because they don't think that way. So like I buy right into that. But give us more on that. What do you mean by they think win-win? Like I get what I want and you get what you want, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Like is that what you're saying? Like give us just a bit more depth on that.
Yeah, so I mean, this gets back to our buddy Joe Thompson. When I left for the biz, 22 years old, he kicked me out of the office. He gave me this thing, 2 books. First was a red book. Remember the red book? It was every broker, it was every financial professional, and back then it was Southern Virginia and West Virginia, where I went out. And he said, "Don't come back until you call every one of these. Go see all these people." There was 3,500. I said, "Joe, I don't know if I can do that." He goes, "Don't come back. Don't come back for the holidays. Stay in West Virginia." And I listened to him. I thought it was okay. But the other book, which really masters what we call, the true law of reciprocity, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I think you know the story. You're listening to the story, but Napoleon. It was Andrew Carnegie called in to Napoleon Hill, was a young writer, the Pittsburgh Gazette, and he said, "Go interview the 200 wealthiest families in the world, and what is it that made them wealthy?" And he came back and he said, "Here's the 12 or 13 principles," and they were all based around the law of reciprocity. And the law of reciprocity simply says this: that the only way any one person can get what they want in life is to first help others get what they want in life. So to answer your question, win-win follows the law of reciprocity, right? And it's not, you said it a little backwards, is I win when they win, right? So in other words, help them win first, right? Give to ultimately receive, right? And if we follow that discipline in life, and the big word is others, like just help others. Wake up in the morning and say, what can I do to help my 25 top accounts win today? When you start with that, right after you did the gratitude piece, the attitude of gratitude, and talked about how grateful we are to be in this great professional selling. After we get done that, gratitude, count our blessings, get the mind right, then we say, what can I do to help everybody win, help them win? Because I know when I help my client win, then guess who wins, Colin? We win, right? So that's the law of reciprocity. That is win. And that's a mindset, right? Give more. Everybody says give, get. No. Give some more. Give some more. Then ultimately you shall receive.
Yeah, boy. And by the way, I was intentional with my I get, and then I worry about them get. I wanted to make sure to emphasize that point is they get, and then if I get, that's great. But in that order, them, then maybe me. All right, Tim, I'm going to give you last word, but before I do, I'm going to say thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for spending time. We're a little bit over our 12 to 15 minutes on the live versions here. We'll do some wonderful editing and make sure that Tim's many pearls of wisdom are left in here. But Tim, how do people get more from you or learn more? Learn how to connect with you best, because I'm sure more people want to hear more from Tim Seifert. I know I do.
Yeah. I mean, how about LinkedIn? We'll just go with LinkedIn. So good. Just Tim Seifert, Lincoln Financial, but LinkedIn is a great way to get a hold of me.
All right, great. Well, Tim, that was awesome. I that word is thrown around way too much in today's vernacular. Everyone uses these big awesomes and amazings and incredibles in just about every circumstance. I'm telling you, I think that was awesome. It was exactly what a listener, whether you are the newest of salespeople or the most experienced of salespeople, there are so many gems for us to take from that. So can't thank you enough for spending some time with us, and good selling to everybody.